Alright, I got a bone to pick with media, and as you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of the gaming press, particularly when they blackball games. And they did this already with Final Fantasy Origins Stranger of Paradise. Now, what you're looking at is some gameplay that I recorded from my own PlayStation this morning. And as soon as this game was launched on the Final Fantasy stage, or the E3 stage, whatever, for Square Enix 2021, man, oh man, did the media just shit on this game. And I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan. I'm a huge Neo fan. I'm a huge Dark Souls fan. And I knew immediately that this game was all three of those things in one. And it interested me. The fact that they're going back to the kind of prequel of the original Final Fantasy, back from the NES era where you fight against Chaos, is an interesting choice for a narrative, but it's one that's largely unexplored. So honestly, it makes kind of sense that they would kind of maybe pursue this, considering that you have a lot of other Final Fantasy games that take place, you know, in various universes and ecospheres across the gaming galaxy. So when media came out and just immediately hated this, it was the cool thing to do, to hate this game without knowing anything about it. Is the voice acting rough? Yes. Are the graphics not the best? Yes. Is the narrative of the character screaming, "I'm going to kill you, Chaos," over and over kind of overwhelming? Yeah, it is. So if I just told you there are three key pillars of the game that maybe aren't the best, maybe press was right and I'm just a bitchy fanboy. But no. What makes this game so good is the gameplay. And I suspect a lot of people are going to immediately dismiss this game because it's the cool thing to do and not give it a chance for themselves, and that's a shame. Now, we have seen in the past, particularly from Team Ninja games, that when they do come out, they are rough. We've seen this with Neo in both the initial and second technical alphas, where they did make some significant refinement to gameplay and ultimately to graphics. And when the time came, the game came out and it ran and looked pretty darn good. It seems like they haven't done much with their gaming engine, though, because it still does look very PlayStation 4-esque graphics. It's definitely not the next-gen stuff that you're going to see from Returnal or from Ratchet and Clank or from what Horizon is shaping up to be. It's definitely very rooted in some of those older graphics, but I still think there's a real gem here, and I'm really, really excited for this game, particularly after spending pretty much all morning with the demo. What makes this game so interesting is that it is in a Final Fantasy world. What does that mean? Well, it means that it has that Final Fantasy aesthetic to it. It means it has that killer Final Fantasy soundtrack to it. And it means that you can expect a very robust RPG experience. And you're going to get all of those things here. Initially, when you open up the game and you just, listening to the intro music on the demo screen, it immediately takes you back to those old Crystal type songs from the original Final Fantasy, or even any of the older Final Fantasies that we got over here in the States, Final Fantasy 2, 3, whatever. You're going to hear that iconic Crystal Room music, and once you hear it, it's just fun. But it's edgy. It's got a guitar riff to it. It's definitely a lot more electronic, and it's got a kind of mean feel to it. And that's what they're going for in this game. Make no doubt about it, Square Enix is an absolute master when it comes to painting a narrative and a theme and giving you emotions based off of character design and based off of character aesthetics. And this is no different. You're going to play as Jack. Jack is, we don't know much about Jack. Jack is a warrior of light, and he's got some buddies with him, and he is going to take out this guy named Chaos. He feels that destroying Chaos is going to right the wrongs. And just about every scene that this guy is in, from a cinematic perspective and all of the voice lines that he and his companions have while playing through the demo, you're going to get the sense that this is a very angry man. A very angry man. Kratos levels of rage. And he is tough and he is menacing. And he seems like he's going to be the one to be able to stop this. There's a lot of times when you're playing, your companions will start rooting you on, screaming like, "Get him, Jack, get him. Yeah, we can't lose when Jack's here." and they're kind of like almost egging him on as this just like war machine. And it's a very interesting it's a very interesting emotion from a Final Fantasy game that isn't a villain. You know, you think of like Kefka, or you think of like Sephiroth, or somebody along those lines, and they're just pretty much one-minded, gotta burn the world type characters. And yet we're playing as one who's a protagonist. So that already interests me anyways. I'm excited in that, just like, okay, cool. I wonder what Jack's story is going to be. And you know, the Final Fantasy game, you're going to get a story. But again, the press being the press, you know, they want to just shit on everything. So whatever. A lot of people won't even, like I said, get this far. But whatever. For the few of us that still are sticking around and very excited for this game, it is punishingly tough. It is hard. It is so hard that I am still, as of the time of this recording, a couple hours into playing the game, I still cannot beat Chaos. He is just menacing and brutal and violent. But what makes this game so fun is that the combat is incredibly fluid and fast and furious. And you're going to get numerous weapon types that are associated with various jobs. The job system does return. And you're going to be able to customize your character to your liking, both in, you know, physical appearance, and a lot of people are making fun of Jack's character. You know, as you get armor, you put them on, obviously your character changes. The way that their boots and their arms and their shoulders and their weapons look, you're going to get all of that just like you have in every other Final Fantasy game. But you're now going to have those jobs associated with them. So you could be a warrior, which is, you know, very melee and aggressive, you know, in your face. You could have a mage class who is a little bit more distant, and then they have this kind of halberd, kind of like mid-range class that does damage differently as well. I know there's more than just these few jobs. It's just a demo or an alpha, whatever they want to call this. So, you know, we're not going to get a whole lot of that deep customization quite yet, but it gives you an idea of what to expect in the job trees, and you will assign skill points to different abilities that will make your character tougher. Each character does have a master class associated with them that opens up a potentially new or a augmented way of playing the original class. Sometimes the stat points carry between the two. Sometimes it's a fresh new, you know, look and game at like a fresh new game in a sense. You're playing with a character that does very, very different things, or it takes longer to attack, like the mage versus like the black mage, which is kind of the upgraded skill tree. How much longer it takes to cast an ability, for example. So you're going to have a lot of that customization as well. And you can freely switch between two classes on the fly. Not fast enough Devil May Cry style, where you're going to be able to like juggle an enemy in the air and immediately switch to another job or anything like that. But fast enough that in between, you're going to knock an enemy down, you're going to be able to switch. And you're going to be able to have two separate meters and two separate everythings to kind of have your like burst off. You know, if you want to be like very bursty, you're going to be able to do that. If you have your defensive, oh my god, I'm about to die, I need to switch and turtle up with the shield, you're going to have that ability too. Combat, like I said, is a lot of fun. You're going to be running around and swinging a sword or an axe or shooting fireballs or lightning or whatever you want. What makes this game so fun is it seems to have capitalized on a level of aggression and offense in a way that I haven't really seen. Maybe Neo, kind of like a hybrid Neo, maybe like a hybrid Bloodborne type game. So what the deal is, as you start swing, there's no stamina, first of all, so you could swing to your heart's content. Understand, though, that while you are swinging, an enemy can be swinging back, and most likely if you just go into combat swinging like a madman, you're going to lose the fight. You're going to have to be a little more methodical, but there is no resource or stamina meters, which is really, really nice. Additionally, once you kind of figure out the battle rhythm, the real kind of charm of this is the soul system. And how this system works is right as an enemy attacks you, it'll prompt the name of the attack over their head. And if it's in purple, it's an ability that you can absorb. And you can then, when you absorb an ability, two things happen. Number one is your mana regenerates, your MP, which allows you to do your most deadly attacks. Or just your standard, like your medium, you know, instead of anything that's not a quick attack, basically. But obviously, as the meter fills up more, you could, like, basically use your ultimates, you know, that makes you invincible for a few seconds, or makes you hit really, really hard, or gives you a, you know, you can't be fatigued or something like that. but it's also going to give you that enemy's ability to throw back in their face. And you can stack these. So if you're fighting a wave, let's say you're fighting a fire bomb, and you know these guys, the little floaty fire dudes. Right as they're about to hit you with their fire attack, you hit circle and you absorb that ability. And when you absorb that ability, you now can cast it back at him, or you can cast it at another enemy that's in an area. You can hold it for later, and you can kind of start to build up this arsenal. It's very, very useful because these are some of the most menacing attacks in the game that have some really cool effects, and it's the exact same ability that was just cast on you back at them. So in addition to just your traditional blocking and dashing out of the way at the last second, you now have the ability to do this kind of parry, but it's a parry in such a way that gives you even more resources and makes you more offensive. And I like that. Particularly in the first stage of the Chaos fight, when you fight against Chaos and he'll shoot these attacks at you, you can absorb them and launch them back at him for massive damage. And it's really, really a lot of fun to do. And I think that's what changes a lot. I could see, it reminds me a lot of like Gao from Final Fantasy III, at least that's what they called it here in the States, where you could kind of learn an enemy's ability and then use it against them over time if you kind of leveled him up in the Veld. It reminds me of that a lot. Now, unfortunately, once you learn kind of one of these things, it's not like you get to keep it in your list of spells. You cast it back at the enemy. Sometimes you get 1 or 2 charges, and then it's gone. But the fact that there is the additional way while you're fighting, while you're using your own offense, which there is a slew of, while you're switching between your 2 character classes, while you're switching between swords and halberds and magic spells, and dashing out of the way and charging up for your big attacks, using your combo attacks with combinations of R1 and R2, you're going to have this other tool in your arsenal that, oh, I'm about to get hit by something, let me absorb it and then shove it back in their face. And it's a lot of fun. Is it edgy? Yes. Is it overly edgy? I don't know. It's meant to be, I think, a tale of some sort of revenge or grit, and I think that's where a lot of people are going to get hung up on. They feel the tone's going to be too gothy and edgy just for the sake of it. But keep in mind, this is a small portion of a very large game. I assume it's a large game. I really do believe that Square Enix knows what they're doing based on the other games that they've made. I think they take the Final Fantasy series very seriously. I like the fact that we do have an origin story on the Warriors of Light. A lot of people picked on the name that it's called Stranger of Paradise. I think that's going to be explained as well. I don't know. I'm into this game. Clearly, I did a long video defending it. I suspect a lot of people are going to say it looks like crap, and you're going to hear a lot of PlayStation 3 jokes, and you know they had this really big debacle when the game launched that you couldn't even play it because it was a corrupted file on the PlayStation Store. You know, these things happen. It's just the way it is. Could it be more polished? Absolutely. Could it be more refined? Absolutely. Will it be? I hope so. But if it releases in the exact state as in today, would I buy it? Absolutely, day one I would. The combat, I think, is that fun. And it is very rewarding when you get stuck in a room of 10 wolves and you're able to turn around that offensive, you turn around that situation and just smoke everybody, get really good rewards, get a cool upgrade, change the way your character looks, unlock new stat points, which makes your character stronger or more menacing, and allow you to progress onto other areas. It does have that Dark Souls system. The levels are circular in design, where you're going to loop around a few times and unlock ladders and I assume other things to make traversal easier. There are waypoints that allow you to refill the potions that you have, similar to the Estus Flask. So they borrowed heavily from other Souls-born games, but I think this is a good version of it. Is it the best? Time remains to be seen. We don't have it yet. But I'm all on board for Final Fantasy Origins, Stranger of Paradise, and I think you guys should be too. I hope you guys enjoyed this deep dive look at the demo with some of my subpar gameplay in the background. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.